Joe Biden continuing his Bay Area fundraising trip on Tuesday, appearing at an event in San Francisco where he briefly addressed news of his son Hunter Biden's plea deal, joined by Gavin Newsom, which we definitely have to talk about because there's been this huge question about whether Gavin Newsom is the candidate in the wings. And I'm going to pass this over to our California expert here in a second to talk about this. Let's see what he said. He said, let's see more technological change. He said they finally asked him about the Justice Department court filings after a lengthy pause during which the president looked like he wasn't going to answer any reporters. We have the story from SF Gate, San Francisco Gate. He decided to weigh in. I'm very proud of my son. That's all he said. The White House spokesperson who told various news outlets on Tuesday, the president and first lady love their son and support him as he continues to rebuild his life. We will have no further comment. Look, guys, this is a story where, and look, I know there's been some happy talk out there across the news networks, across some of conservative media. I'm seeing it in right-wing sources where they say, all right, well, hold on. This is just the first shoe to drop. Durham was out there today. He was testifying. Then we're going to have Weiss and we have other prosecutors in Delaware and there's going to be other investigations and other trusts. Guys. Yeah. Look, we now live, and Jack Posobiec was talking about this on his award-winning podcast, Human Events, earlier today.
Really good show.
I like that guy. That we now live in not a one, not a two, but a three-tiered system of justice. A three-tiered system of justice. This is the thesis that Poso was lining out. And it's simple because we knew we lived in a two-tier. Right? We all got that in 2016 when James Comey, we remember this, right? We remember when James Comey, that's what gets me, is that everybody's acting like this is normal. Everyone's acting like, oh yeah, well the president's son gets a plea deal and it's just, he's going to cop to some of these, tax charges. And so he lied to the ATF. I mean, look, if any of us lied to the ATF, we'd get a deal like this as well. It's called it's a pretrial diversion. Pretrial diversion is what it's called. And it essentially means that he's really sorry. He admits that he did something very naughty and he's definitely not going to do it again. I think that's the same thing that would happen to any of us. Yeah. If we lied about, I don't know, our pistol braces, if we lied about our bump stocks, if we lied about shaving off there's certain modifications that can be made to a semi-automatic AR-15 that we're definitely not going to talk about here, but we could talk about in the members show that if you're listening, we're definitely going to have a conversation about that and more. But if you lie to the ATF, we all know what's going to happen.
You're in trouble.
You are going to get messed up. And there is now a two-tier system, a two-tiered system that has turned into a third-tier system because one tier, that's the proletariat. That's the proles. That's the regulars. That's the hoi polloi. That's everyone else. Then there's a tier. There's a tier for the aristocracy. There's a tier for the leadership, the political preferred class. Just as Poso was outlining, again, his award-winning podcast, Human Events. Yeah, really. I mean, just smart and handsome. How does he do it? I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, he's smart.
Yeah, beautiful family.
Beautiful family, and he's smart.
Handsome than,
well,
more handsome
beautiful
than,
family, and he's smart. I'll give you that.
Like cartoonists.
Yeah, family first.
Look, I mean, is that a high bar? If you want to set it there.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me that one more time. There's a three-tier system.
Then there's a third tier, and that third tier is for people like Donald Trump, but not just Trump, not just right-wingers. People like Julian Assange, people who are troublemakers to the regime, people for whom the legal system, the legal standards get twisted into whatever arcane reading that lawyers and judges will go along with to go after them. A paperwork dispute gets treated as if it is handing over the nuclear codes to Vladimir Putin.
We were being told Don Jr. was going to go to jail for the rest of his life.
That's right. That's right, Don Jr. And
didn't Donald Trump call it too? Like early June, wasn't he like, I guarantee you that they're going to come after, Hunter Biden with like a small little slap in the wrist to make it seem like, oh, look, the justice system is fair. And actually, I think The View actually made a point of that. They're like, oh, look, no one's above the law, not even the president's son. They came after him. And it's like, come on. Like,
imagine genuinely believing justice is served here, that these are the penalties that any other person in this country would get if they were outside of that narrow political class. Yeah.
He's Donald Trump is a Nostradamus of our time. I'm just saying.
I try to think about like when I first heard this story and like, okay, Hunter's getting off easy. I was like, should he? Part of me was like, yeah, he should. Joe should have done the right thing and put his son in jail for 20 years or 15 years for whatever, 10 years. I don't know what it is. And then now I'm starting to question it. I don't even know if this is the way to go, is just start arresting everyone left and right but I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
But these are not minor things either, right? So we see a lot of influence peddling. We see a lot of political leaders trying to profit off of their position, or the family members of political leaders trying to profit off of their positions. And I think Hunter Biden did that in a particularly egregious way, which is beyond the pale of what we usually see in American politics, for as bad as that gets. But on top of that, Hunter Biden didn't just commit crimes that are outside the purview of what the average American might do, or what they could be found guilty of or being put on trial for. So it's difficult to outline the fact that there's a two-tier system when it comes to influence peddling, because your average person isn't really in a position where they're going to be able to do that. So it's difficult to compare the charge they would get to the charge that someone who's the member of a powerful political family would get. But when it comes to the gun charges, or when it comes to the dealings with money, let's say, to put it euphemistically, and the fact that he hadn't, I believe, reported his income fully to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Tim can fact check me on that one there. I mean, these are things that even in those amounts, your average American couldn't be capable of, but they could commit some variety of those crimes, and they would get in way more trouble for it.
Well, it's like President Joe Biden said, nobody F's with a Biden. All right, or isn't that what he said?
Well, look, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. The very same people that spent, what did they spend all last week doing? When that prosecutor Jack Smith got up there at the Department of Justice and he said about Trump, he said they repeated one refrain over and over, the same refrain you heard on MSNBC, the same refrain you heard on every single network. No one is above the law. No one is above the law. No one is above the law. They were doing that because they were front loading it. They were priming you psychologically to prepare to respond exactly the way you just said about Hunter Biden, because they want you thinking, okay, we did go after Hunter Biden. And it gives you a false because. It gives you an out to say, well, that's not true. Hunter Biden didn't get off. Why, look, he was charged. He accepted a plea deal. He had to do all of these different things. He had to pay the money back, and they looked into it, and he was charged. Therefore, it's okay to go after Trump. But here's the thing: Donald Trump isn't going to be offered a plea deal. That being said, Donald Trump's he's not going to take a plea deal. Okay, There's nothing in Donald Trump's psyche that would allow him to admit fault, admit any of this. And he did an interview with Brett Baer, and there's people coming back and forth on that saying, oh, it was great. And I think it's a Rorschach test. Like, so Trump supporters are saying, this was a great interview. This was wonderful. He knocked it out of the park. And then Trump detractors are saying, oh, this is terrible. He's done. He's done for. This is the end of Trump. The walls are closing in. His lawyers are committing suicide as we watch. This is the end. It's the end of Trump. And then you've got people in the middle who are like, I still don't understand why he's being charged, because they asked him about the classified documents and he said he declassified them. And they said he was president when he declassified them. And then he also said, oh, by the way, there were, socks and shoes and commemorable shirts and different things in these boxes. Because remember, we're showing the picture of the boxes. And yet we're not actually showing what was in the boxes. Yeah. In fact, you can't see what's in the boxes. But that's great persuasion, right? Visual persuasion.
Look at all of these boxes. And of course, the subtext is they're full of, exactly. They're just up to the brim with classified documents that he didn't declassify.
I think that what this shows is, once again, the Democrats are willing to wield full power and come after anyone. I mean, they literally have the political leader of the Republican right. You can argue that it might be DeSantis. Oh, it's time for Trump to step down. Trump is still the face of the Republican Party. Like, there is no MAGA without, Donald Trump right now. And that's just the reality. I hear this, not just, I'm not from a red state. I'm not in a conservative state by any means. I'm in Los Angeles, California. Regular people, like street vendors that I talk to, they're just like, no, yeah, Donald Trump is the Republican. He's that guy. And so it kind of pisses me off a little bit when I see that, they're coming after like Adam Schiff. Like, Republicans can't even do that successfully, coming after Adam Schiff, trying to censure him. And I think that, last week we were just talking about this. They try to fine him a multi-million-dollars. And Thomas Massey, I think, is a great politician, but he's like, oh, well, we don't want to open the floodgates. We don't want to have him pay a fine, because what would happen if Democrats came after us and they did that? And I'm like, buddy, like those days are way over, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we got to stop thinking that way. And I think that that's why conservatives continue to lose all the time, because they're just, well, we don't want to cross that line because, well, what if they came and did it to us? We just went through 3 years of tyranny. Of medical tyranny. It's just insane that we're still thinking this way. I cannot believe that there are still conservatives online saying, well, we don't want to cross that line because, well, what if they come back and do it to us whenever they gain power? Dude, they literally indicted the leader of the Republican Party. You think they care about the average Republican out in the street trying to, blue collar worker? They don't. They arrested your leader and nothing has happened. Like, what are we doing here?
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.